Chapter 91, Purgatory Fruits. Big Brother, are there really such powerful elixirs? Of course. When Master Sure first came to the White Lotus sect, he started cultivating purgatory fruits in the secluded forest. They should be mature by now. Once Master Sure refines the precious elixir, the White Lotus sect might attack the Anon base city. Then, the Anon base city will belong to our White Lotus sect. At this point, the dozen or so genetic warriors of the White Lotus sect all laughed. Master Sure's corpse-driving incense is really powerful. The zombies won't attack us. Otherwise, with so many zombies in Dongcheng, we would have been eaten alive. Don't waste time, let's hurry to the secluded forest. If we delay Master Sure's elixir refinement, we won't be able to bear the consequences. After speaking, the dozen or so genetic warriors of the White Lotus sect quickened their pace. A smile appeared on Yili's face. He didn't expect that Shi Yuan could refine elixirs, and ones that could greatly enhance strength. As for the purgatory fruit, Yili had never heard of it before. But the dozen or so warriors just now said that Shi Yuan had been cultivating purgatory fruits since he arrived at the White Lotus sect, so the fruits must be very precious. If Yili were to destroy them, he wondered what expression Shi Yuan would have on his face. Without further ado, Yili followed them. These dozen or so warriors of the White Lotus sect were all high-level awakened beings, and it was really simple for Yili to avoid being detected by them. They left Dongcheng and arrived at a dark and gloomy forest. The forest gave a strong sense of oppression, as if stepping into it was like entering hell. The trees in the forest weren't tall, but there was no sunlight, and the sound of crows could be heard from time to time, accompanied by chilling gusts of wind. Big Brother, this secluded forest is really terrifying. Even though there's nothing here, I feel a sense of inexplicable fear. One of the White Lotus sect's genetic warriors said. Everyone's faces were filled with horror, and they swallowed nervously. With each step they took, the sense of fear multiplied. Look, are those the purgatory fruits? Suddenly, one of the White Lotus sect's genetic warriors pointed in a direction and exclaimed. Everyone quickly followed his finger and was stunned when they saw what was there. Not far from them, there was a small tree with several peculiar fruits hanging from it. Each fruit looked like a human face, a face from hell, with a terrifying and ferocious appearance. Around the tree, there was a thick black mist, exuding an evil aura. Yili wasn't far from the dozen or so genetic warriors, standing on a tree branch, watching the scene unfold. He was also taken aback. He didn't expect such terrifying fruits to exist in the world. Indeed, they must be evil items, and only dark forces could cultivate such fruits. Big Brother, what should we do now? A timid warrior looked at the leader. What should we do? Of course, well, pick the purgatory fruits. Do you expect us to go back empty-handed? The leader said impatiently. As long as we pick the fruits, we can leave. I don't want to stay in this cursed place any longer. As the leader spoke, a brave genetic warrior quickly approached, preparing to pick the purgatory fruits. Suddenly, the leader seemed to think of something and quickly shouted, "Wait!" But it was too late. The genetic warrior had already stepped into the black mist surrounding the purgatory tree. Ah! The White Lotus sect warrior instantly let out a heartrending scream. Chapter 92, Mantis hunting the cicada, with the oriole behind. After the White Lotus sect's genetic warrior let out a scream, his flesh and blood vanished into thin air. A skeleton fell to the ground, but it didn't end there. The black mist began to envelop the bones, and in an instant, the skeleton turned to ashes. The whole process took less than a second. The dozen or so White Lotus sect's genetic warriors couldn't help but gasp in shock at the scene. Yili stood on a tree branch, astonished by the extraordinary power of the black mist. Big Brother, what should we do now? A timid White Lotus sect's genetic warrior was on the verge of tears. The leader glared at him fiercely and said coldly, "What's the panic? Didn't Master Shi give me a pill before we came?" I believe that as long as we take the pill, the black mist won't be able to harm us. With that, the leader took out a black pill from his pocket. Who wants to take it? The leader looked at the others. This, the dozen or so White Lotus sect's genetic warriors quickly shook their heads, none of them willing to pick the purgatory fruits themselves. You're all useless. If we don't bring back the purgatory fruits today, we'll die anyway. Decide now. The leader coldly commanded. Immediately, the men discussed among themselves and then played rock paper scissors. The final result was soon decided. The loser was scared to the core, as if all his strength had been drained. Cold sweat drenched his body. With trembling hands, he took the pill and swallowed it in one gulp. Yi Li was a bit impatient. He wondered why they were so slow. If he hadn't been unsure about the effectiveness of the black pill, he would have intervened long ago. But now, it was fine. Let them try first, they were going to die soon anyway. After taking the black pill, the White Lotus sect's genetic warrior approached the purgatory tree with fear. He was scared, really scared. He could swear that he had never felt such fear since birth. When the man was about to reach the edge of the black mist, he suddenly trembled, and a surge of warmth flowed out from between his legs. Did he pee himself out of fear? Yi Li was a bit annoyed, thinking, hurry up. If you don't, do you believe they'll give you a slash and send you straight to hell? The man, who had never believed in gods before, was now praying to them countless times in his heart. He didn't want to die, he really didn't want to die. Finally, the man touched the black mist. Unlike before, the black mist didn't wrap around his body. The man was overjoyed and quickly rushed over to the purgatory tree. The purgatory tree wasn't tall to begin with, and he started frantically picking the fruits. Within seconds, he had picked all dozen or so purgatory fruits. Then, at the fastest speed in his life, the man returned to the group of White Lotus sect's genetic warriors. They all breathed a sigh of relief and wiped the cold sweat off their foreheads. The leader looked at the fruits in the man's bag. These purgatory fruits were too terrifying, they were actually human face-shaped fruits, each one looking ferocious and fierce. He quickly averted his gaze. Now that we have the purgatory fruits, let's go back and report. The leader said. Then the dozen or so White Lotus sect's genetic warriors prepared to return. Unfortunately, they had no idea that while the mantis was catching the cicada, there was an oriole behind. Suddenly, Yi Li leaped and stood in front of the dozen or so White Lotus sect's genetic warriors. Chapter 93, The Power of the One Yang Finger. Yi Li's sudden appearance startled the dozen or so White Lotus sect's genetic warriors, causing them to take several steps back. After steadying their minds, they stared at Yi Li with intense vigilance. Brat, you are courting death, daring to block our way. The leader of the group coldly shouted at Yi Li. Yi Li smiled faintly and looked at his own finger. So, you guys have never heard of the story of the mantis hunting the cicada, while the oriole is behind? The dozen or so White Lotus sect's genetic warriors were taken aback by his words, thinking that this guy was doing this on purpose. Ha ha ha. The leader suddenly burst into laughter. Brat, you mess with the wrong person. Do you know who we are? The leader looked at Yi Li with disdain. Yi Li used his index finger to prop up his chin and pondered for a moment before speaking. Aren't you guys the genetic warriors of the White Lotus sect? Hearing these words, the dozen or so White Lotus sect's genetic warriors instantly became serious. Since he knew they were from the White Lotus sect and remained so calm, it meant he came prepared. Brat, since you are seeking death, don't blame us. Attack! The leader coldly ordered. With the leader's command, the dozen or so White Lotus sect's genetic warriors charged towards Yi Li. Yi Li shook his head slowly. Why were there always so many ants that overestimated their own capabilities? Was it really so difficult to stay alive in this world? Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Several swooshing sounds suddenly rang out, and the dozen or so genetic warriors charging at Yi Li had all fallen to the ground, without any signs of life. They had died without even realizing how it happened. Come on, Yi Li's one yang finger could instantly kill these advanced awakened individuals. Yi Li's finger gleamed with golden light, and he gave this skill a name. After much thought, he still felt that one yang finger sounded good. How is this possible? The leader and the man who carried the purgatory fruits were both petrified, as if they had witnessed something impossible to see. Yi Li's face remained calm as he looked at the two men. He felt two were too many. Then, the one yang finger was unleashed again, and a terrifying golden light shot towards the leader's forehead. Before the leader could even let out a scream, he had already left this world forever. Yi Li came here this time to exterminate the White Lotus sect in the first place, so he didn't feel a shred of guilt. In this apocalyptic world, it was necessary to see through human nature. Perhaps one day, the person closest to you would stab you in the back. Spare me. Spark me. The man holding the bag of purgatory fruits knelt in front of Yi Li with a thump, repeatedly begging for mercy. Yi Li observed the man. He looked around 30 years old and had a face that was hard to describe. With pockmarks on his face and a pointed chin, he looked like a monkey. But that didn't matter. What mattered was that he had eyes like a pig's, bloodshot and with dark circles. He was really as ugly as can be, almost resembling a ghost. Yi Li secretly chuckled, as he had never seen someone so ugly before. It was quite interesting. The man was so scared that he kowtowed to Yi Li incessantly, clearly desperate to survive. What's your name? Yi Li asked indifferently. The man didn't dare to hide anything and quickly replied, My name is Qin Qi. Chapter 94, Eating the Purgatory Fruits. Have you been wanting to die for a long time? Yi Li spoke slowly. Hearing this, Qin Qi was almost scared to death. For him, picking the purgatory fruits was already a near-death experience. He had barely escaped death, but he never imagined it would turn out like this. I don't want to die. I beg you to spare me. Just treat me like a fart and let me go, boo-hoo dash, Qin Qi cried sorrowfully, his pants already wet from fear. As the saying went, tears don't fall from a hero's eyes until he reaches a point of sadness. Since you don't want to die, then get up, Yi Li said calmly. Qin Qi felt as if he had been granted a pardon and quickly got up from the ground. Senior, what are your orders? I'm willing to go to the Blade Mountain or the oil pan without complaint. Qin Qi looked at Yi Li cautiously, afraid of provoking his anger. Give this to me. Yi Li pointed to the bag containing the purgatory fruits in Qin Qi's hand. Qin Qi dared not disobey and quickly handed the bag to Yi Li. Yi Li opened the bag and examined the purgatory fruits inside. The grotesque faces of the fruits wore sinister smiles, their eyes emitting eerie light that was enough to make one's scalp tingle. He thought these purgatory fruits were too evil. If he wasn't curious about their effects, he would have destroyed them immediately. Then Yi Li looked at Qin Qi and spoke slowly, Go back to the White Lotus sect and tell them that I, Yi Li, have arrived. After saying that, Yi Li walked slowly in the direction of Dongcheng. Qin Qi stood in place like an old monk in meditation. Only when Yi Li's figure disappeared from his sight did he swallow his saliva. My goodness, there's actually such a terrifying person. Fortunately, I had a good attitude when begging for mercy, otherwise, I would be dead too. No, I can't just return to the White Lotus sect like this. Qin Qi raised his palm and slapped himself more than a dozen times, causing himself to cough up blood before he stopped. Then, he headed towards the direction of the White Lotus sect. Yi Li returned to Dongcheng and found a room to see if there was any secret to the purgatory fruits. After researching them, he didn't find anything. Eat them. Yi Li was thinking about the consequences of swallowing the purgatory fruits. He wondered if it would have any effects. The fruits looked so evil. If he were to eat them, would it cause internal injuries or something like that? After pondering for a few seconds, Yili thought, fortune favors the bold. I'm not afraid. A true hero had no fear. Yili bit off a big chunk of a purgatory fruit. Huh! Yili was surprised to find that the purgatory fruit was quite tasty. At least he had never eaten such a delicious fruit in China. He was a bit hungry, so before long, he had eaten all dozen or so purgatory fruits. Suddenly, Yili felt a tremendous force surging through his internal organs. He wondered if there would be any significant side effects from eating the purgatory fruits, such as his intestines rupturing or stomach disintegrating. Just as Yili's mind wandered, the system's voice appeared in his mind. Ding! Congratulations to the host for eating the first evil fruit of the apocalypse, purgatory fruits. You have obtained a super treasure chest. Yili didn't expect to receive a treasure chest for this, let alone a super one. Without hesitation, he opened the super treasure chest. Obtained the ancient devil tome. Yili was surprised by the name alone, knowing that it was extraordinary. He quickly looked at the skill introduction of the ancient devil tome. Ancient devil tome, the number 1 ancient devil tome, consisting of 5 levels. Each level upgraded will greatly enhance the user's strength. Chapter 95, First Level of the Ancient Devil Tome Ding. May I ask if the host wants to cultivate the Ancient Devil Tome? Yes. Cultivation of the Ancient Devil Tome begins 10%. 30%. 60%. 100%. Congratulations, the cultivation of the Ancient Devil Tome is successful. The host has cultivated to the first level. The Ancient Devil Tome had a total of 5 levels, and each level upgraded would greatly enhance the user's strength. Yili felt the devil energy within him growing stronger, several times more powerful than before. Now with the dragon-slaying blade, he believed he could fight against a 5th-tier evolved being. He never expected that after eating the purgatory fruits and filling his stomach, he would obtain such an amazing tome. Yili thought that when Chen Qi informed Shi Yuan of this matter, Shi Yuan would probably turn livid in anger. It was only noon now, and he had time. He didn't need to rush to the White Lotus sect, instead, he was waiting for them to come to him. There were so many zombies in Dongqing, he might as well synthesize some. Immediately, Yili came to a street of Dongqing. Now he had a way to synthesize zombies. Just let the zombies attract zombies over. Yili released Ada, Hongye, Bai Wawa, and the level 8 male and female zombies he had synthesized yesterday from the system space. He let them attract the zombies in Dongqing while he went to a deserted park and sat on a wooden bench. After about 10 minutes, Ada, Hongye, Bai Wawa, and the level 8 male and female zombies each attracted a horde of zombies. The number of zombies attracted was quite substantial, and what surprised Yili was that most of them were level 2 to 3 zombies. In the past, the zombies he synthesized were mostly level 1. After attracting a large wave of zombies, Yili gave orders to Ada and the others. Ada and the others began to take action, and these zombies were like pitiful little chicks in their presence. Yili opened the synthesis grid in his mind and began synthesizing zombies. His hand speed was godlike as his fingers moved rapidly across the grid. In no time, a Tier 1 male zombie and a Tier 1 female zombie were created. Yili felt that it was far from enough, so he continued to have them attract more zombies for synthesis. After an afternoon of time, Yili synthesized a Tier 3 male zombie and a Tier 3 female zombie. Yili took out a box of food from the system space, ate and drank his fill, and then glanced at the system space. He still had a super treasure map. After dealing with the White Lotus sect, he would open it. Since it was a super treasure map, there must be something good inside, and he was looking forward to it. Yili looked at Ada, Hongye, and Bai Wawa. They were now the main zombies he was cultivating, but he wondered when he could cultivate a 4th zombie. Considering that there were currently 2 males and 1 female, the 4th zombie should be female. It would be best if she were a loli because lolis were cute. He thought that Qin-Chi probably had already arrived at the White Lotus sect by now, so he just had to wait. The White Lotus sect would likely come to Dongqing tomorrow, and he would unleash a massacre, directly decimating the White Lotus sect. Yi Li looked through the window at the cold moon in the sky, wondering how Xiao Hui was doing. Since he saved her, she had regarded him as everything. If one day he had the power to influence the situation in the apocalypse, he would make Xiao Hui the happiest woman in the world. Yi Li shook his head, let Ada guard him, and lay on the bed, finding it hard to fall asleep. He counted sheep for a long time before finally falling asleep. Chapter 96, Shi Yuan's Wrath. White Lotus Sect. With heavy steps, Qin-Chi arrived at the White Lotus sect, his body covered in severe injuries. He finally entered the main hall of the White Lotus sect. At this moment, Shi Yuan sat on the throne in the hall, his face filled with complacence. He thought that as long as he obtained the purgatory fruits and refined them into pills, he would see how Anan Base City could resist him. As for Yi Li's dragon-slaying blade, wasn't it just a matter of taking it from him? However, when Shi Yuan saw Qin-Chi, who was covered in injuries, walking into the hall, he could no longer smile. What happened? Bai Shan quickly asked. Qin-Chi knelt on the ground and cried. Master, brothers are in dire straits. Bai Shan's temples bulged with veins, and he demanded, tell me, what happened? Immediately, Qin-Chi told Bai Shan everything that had happened. As Shi Yuan and Bai Shan listened to his account, it was like a bolt from the blue. What did you say? Shi Yuan's eyes turned red, and flames of fury erupted from his head. Qin-Chi wiped away his tears and said, Yi Li is too arrogant. Master, you must avenge us. He thought that fortunately, he had returned with so many injuries. Otherwise, he might have lost his life. Shi Yuan was so angry that he clenched his teeth tightly. Yi Li. Yi Li. He had planted the purgatory fruits as soon as he arrived at the White Lotus sect, waiting for today. As long as he refined them into pills, Anan Base City would be his. Even more importantly, he could take the dragon-slaying blade from Yi Li. With the blade in hand, he would have an unparalleled inheritance in the Dark Temple. But all of this had been ruined by Yi Li. Why do I keep you? Why do I keep you? Shi Yuan's eyes turned red, and he was ready to act against Qin-Chi. Terrified, Qin-Chi crawled on the ground in panic. Master, save me, save me. Qin-Chi pleaded desperately. Seeing Qin-Chi's injuries, Bai Shan knew that he must have narrowly escaped death to come back and deliver the message. Wait. Mr. Shi, the most important thing now is to find Yi Li and take back the purgatory fruits, Bai Shan said to Shi Yuan. Shi Yuan was even more furious. How could I not know? But we have no idea where Yi Li is right now. Mr. Shi, it seems that Yi Li went to Dongqing, Qin-Chi said in a low voice. Are you sure? Shi Yuan stared coldly at Qin-Chi. I swear, every word I said is true. If I'm lying, let thunder strike me. Qin-Chi quickly responded. Hearing this, Shi Yuan squinted his eyes. If Yi Li was really in Dongqing, then he was seeking death. By that time, he could not only reclaim the purgatory fruits but also the dragon-slaying blade. It would save him a lot of trouble. We are going to Dongqing immediately. Shi Yuan said coldly. As he finished speaking, Shi Yuan had disappeared from the main hall of the White Lotus sect. Gold, silver, copper and iron, gather everyone and head to Dongqing immediately. White Lotus sect's master Bai Shan shouted. Yes, master. Gold, silver, copper and iron were the 4 new elders of the White Lotus sect, all third-tier evolved beings. In an instant, thousands of people from the White Lotus sect rushed towards Dongqing. Yi Li had just fallen asleep when he heard the commotion. He was a little annoyed, thinking, I've finally fallen asleep after counting sheep for so long, and now you woke me up. He got up and looked out the window, only to find countless zombies wandering the streets. A zombie tide? Yi Li murmured. He noticed that these zombies were not only roaming the streets but also entering any building they could find. Chapter 97, Secret Technique. Siege. Yi Li instantly figured it out. Shi Yuan must have arrived in Dongcheng. Shi Yuan was a member of the Dark Race, and it was no secret that the Dark Race could control zombies. The Dark Race was collectively referred to as the Dark Forces. Shi Yuan, as a low-level member of the Dark Race, belonged to the Soul Tribe. The Soul Tribe's true form was the soul, without a physical body, appearing ethereal and eerie. Yi Li, I know you're in Dongcheng. Quickly hand over the dragon-slaying blade and the purgatory fruits, or it'll make you suffer 100 times worse than death. Shi Yuan's stern shout echoed in the dark night, sending shivers down one's spine. Unfortunately, Yi Li showed no fear at all. Instead, he remained extremely calm. Roar! Roar! The sound of zombies came closer. As long as a single zombie saw him, he would be exposed. This was the ability of the Dark Race. However, he didn't care about being exposed. He had been waiting for this day. He released Ada, Hongye and Bai Wawa from the system space and looked at the three of them, saying, as the saying goes, a dark night, a night for murder. Today, we would launch a true slaughter. After saying that, Yi Li burst through the door. As soon as he broke through the door, he saw dozens of zombies rushing madly toward him. He was not interested in these dozen zombies. He took out the dragon-slaying blade from the system space and instantly released a cold light in the corridor. The dozen zombies were instantly annihilated, leaving no trace. Then, he leaped up and landed on the rooftop. After cultivating the ancient demonic scripture, his attributes were greatly enhanced. Now, he could easily fly on land, leap between tall buildings, and cross rivers and seas as if walking on flat ground. After reaching the rooftop, Yi Li stood still on the spot, waiting for Shi Yuan. As he had expected, Shi Yuan arrived on the rooftop after a few minutes. Shi Yuan floated in midair, surrounded by a sinister aura. Yi Li. Shi Yuan stared coldly at Yi Li and spoke with a chill in his voice. Why such anger? After all, we're acquaintances, and I even followed you before. You even want to recommend me to the Dark Temple. Have you forgotten all of that? Yi Li said casually. Hearing this, Shi Yuan was so furious that he was about to explode. Yi Li, hand over the dragon-slaying blade and the purgatory fruits. I can consider giving you a quick death. Purgatory fruits. Yi Li smiled and said, I've already eaten all the purgatory fruits. If you want them, you can wait until tomorrow when I go to the bathroom to see if there are any undigested ones left. Yi Li, I promise you, I will make you beg for death. Shi Yuan bit his teeth tightly and said through clenched teeth. As he finished speaking, Shi Yuan formed a strange hand gesture with both hands. Sinister energy began to gather on his hands. I hereby command all the zombies in Dongcheng to besiege Yi Li. Immediately, the black energy dispersed throughout Dongcheng. Yi Li smiled secretly. This would save him a lot of effort. If all the zombies in Dongcheng were to be synthesized, just thinking about it would be thrilling. Yi Li, even if you have 3 tier 5 zombies, facing all the zombies in Dongcheng, it's still like striking a rock with an egg. Shi Yuan stared at Yi Li. Perhaps you're right, but you missed one thing, Yi Li said slowly. What is it? Shi Yuan quickly asked. Yi Li smiled faintly, and a cold light flashed in his eyes. The fact that you're still just one person. As he finished speaking, Yi Li wielded the dragon-slaying blade, and the blade's brilliance became terrifying beyond imagination. Chapter 98, Zombies of the entire Dongcheng. Shi Yuan was greatly shocked. Yi Li was only a tier 4 evolved being, yet he could unleash such a terrifying strike. This single strike had surprised even him. The dragon-slaying blade was indeed one of the 10 great divine weapons. Shi Yuan managed to dodge the attack. His figure floated as he stared coldly at Yi Li. Yi Li, you will regret this, you will regret it. Shi Yuan's voice echoed, and he began to flee. Would Yi Li let Shi Yuan go? Of course not. He ordered Ada, Hongye, and Bai Wawa to pursue him while he also chased after him. Shi Yuan reached the main street of Dongcheng, with Yi Li and the three others following closely behind. However, at this moment, Shi Yuan stopped running. Giggle, Yi Li, you are too young. Shi Yuan turned around and started giggling at Yi Li. At the sound of his laughter, countless zombies rushed from all directions. Roar, roar. These zombies formed an encirclement around Yi Li, making it as tight as a fortress. At the same time, a large group of people from the White Lotus sect also arrived. There were probably around 10 to 20,000 zombies, and most of them were level 2 to 3, with over 1,000 high-level zombies. After all, this was a zombie city guarding the White Lotus sect, and the zombies' strength was much stronger than ordinary ones. Shi Yuan raised his palm, and the zombies stopped. With a triumphant look on his face, he said, Yi Li, you are really too young. After stealing the purgatory fruits, why didn't you run away? Yi Li, today I will avenge my son. Bai Shan also said coldly to Yi Li. Yi Li looked around and saw that the encirclement was indeed tight. It seems that you are all certain of my fate, Yi Li said slowly. Ha ha ha. Shi Yuan burst into laughter. Yi Li, are you still thinking of running away? Yi Li shook his head slowly. I don't want to run away. Then you're already dead now, and I guarantee that you'll die a very miserable death, Shi Yuan said with a cold smile. Yi Li smiled. If he didn't have the system, he would indeed be dead in this situation. Unfortunately, he had the system in his hands, and with the super synthesis system, he had the whole world. These zombies were nothing more than food to enhance Ada, Hongye, and Bai Wawa in his eyes. Shi Yuan, what if I tell you that I can defeat all of you? Yi Li said lightly. As soon as these words were heard, everyone from the White Lotus sect burst into laughter, laughing so hard that they couldn't even stand straight. It was as if they had heard the funniest joke ever. Yi Li, are you going mad from fear? Bai Shan said disdainfully, looking at Yi Li. Yi Li sighed when he heard this and looked at the cold moon in the sky. At this point, what is there to hesitate about? Come on, let me see what you've got. Yi Li said, beckoning to Shi Yuan and Bai Shan. Shi Yuan's face turned red, then purple, then white, then green. The colors of the rainbow appeared on his face. He didn't understand, really didn't understand. Yi Li was already on the brink of death, but why was he still so calm and composed? Yi Li, since you want hand over the dragon-slaying blade and the purgatory fruits, then I'll kill you and take them myself. Attack! Shi Yuan roared, and tens of thousands of zombies rushed toward Yi Li like a black cloud. Yi Li's lips curled up slightly. With so many zombies, it was like he had entered heaven. Chapter 99, Perish and Vanish. Ada, Hongye, Bai Wawa, go. Yi Li gave them the order as well. In an instant, Ada, Hongye, and Bai Wawa shot forward, and hundreds of zombies fell to the ground instantly. Even though some of these zombies were of higher levels, they couldn't escape being killed instantly by 3 Tier 5 zombies. Yi Li began synthesizing. As long as a zombie fell, he would synthesize it. The synthesized zombies listened to his commands 100%. He ordered these newly created zombies to attack the other zombies. Don't ask how fast his hands were. If there were a keyboard now, he believed he could press keys over 1,000 times in 1 second. After a few minutes, Yi Li had synthesized a considerable number of zombies. The zombies controlled by Shi Yuan could not resist at all, and apart from being synthesized by Yi Li, they had no other choice. The thousands of people from the White Lotus sect were shocked to see this scene. They dared to swear that they had never been so astonished before. Shi Yuan even rubbed his eyes. He couldn't believe it was true. He really couldn't believe it, but the fact was right in front of his eyes, leaving him with no choice but to believe it. In this world, besides the dark race, was there anyone else who could control zombies? And it seemed that the zombies were increasing in level and decreasing in number. Mr. Sure, what's going on? Bai Shan hurriedly asked. Shi Yuan didn't answer, he didn't even know how to answer. As more and more zombies fell to the ground, Yili synthesized more and more zombies. These tens of thousands of zombies were like living targets. In a short time, Yili had synthesized all tens of thousands of zombies. Tens of thousands of zombies turned into over 5,000 zombies, both male and female, ranging from level 4 to 5. This. Shi Yuan was now sweating profusely, looking at Yili in horror. Yili's face was filled with excitement. This harvest was quite fruitful. But it was not the time to synthesize them now. Yili nodded slightly, calmly looking at the petrified Shi Yuan. Mr. Shi, do you still think I'm doomed now? Yili asked. Shi Yuan couldn't say a word at this moment, he was just shocked. The thousands of people from the White Lotus sect all looked at each other. The sudden change of the situation was beyond their wildest imagination. You are a devil, you are a devil. Bai Shan shouted at Yili as if he had gone mad. A devil. Yili's expression suddenly turned cold. Then let me show you what a real devil looks like. With that, Yili ordered the zombie army to attack. He ordered Ada, Hongye, and Bai Wawa to fight against Shi Yuan and Bai Shan. Over 5,000 zombies, with varying levels, launched an attack on the other people of the White Lotus sect. Shrill screams continued to resound. Yili stood in place, watching the show. Ada fought against Shi Yuan alone, while Hongye and Bai Wawa fought against Bai Shan. Bai Shan was no match for Hongye and Bai Wawa, he was forced to retreat continuously. He wanted to escape, really wanted to escape. But where could he escape to? He was soon killed by Hongye and Bai Wawa. At this moment, White Lotus sect's leader, Bai Shan, died. Then, Hong Yi and Bai Wawa turned to attack Shi Yuan. Shi Yuan was greatly horrified. He also wanted to escape, but he was facing 3 tier 5 zombies. Shi Yuan was beaten so hard by Ada, Hong Yi, and Bai Wawa that his soul was almost shattered. At the moment of his impending death, he sent a series of strange signals. By now, both Shi Yuan and Bai Shan had perished. Don't fight, senior, don't fight. Suddenly, a loud shout rang out. When Yili looked, he saw a ghost-like ugly man shouting. Chapter 100, We are willing to follow you, senior. This man was as ugly as it could be. It was none other than Qin Qi. Qin Qi flew over and immediately knelt in front of Yili. Senior, we admit defeat. Please spare us, Qin Qi kept kowtowing to Yili. Yili pondered for a moment. Now that Shi Yuan and Bai Shan were both dead, sparing them might not be impossible. Moreover, he could make the White Lotus sect obey him. Although it might not be of much use, it was better than nothing. He ordered the zombies to stop attacking. At this point, only a few hundred people were left in the White Lotus sect. The others had all turned into zombies, and Yili synthesized them. The surviving members of the White Lotus sect let out a sigh of relief when the zombies stopped attacking. Fear was evident on their faces. Senior, we are willing to follow you, Qin Qi said as he looked at Yili. Senior, we are willing to follow you. Over 200 genetic warriors of the White Lotus sect all knelt on the ground. As long as they could survive, they were willing to do anything. Ding! Due to the host's large-scale synthesis of zombies, congratulations to the host for obtaining a chance to draw a random reward. Yili couldn't help but feel that this golden finger was indeed omnipresent. Here we go again, another chance for a lucky draw. The pointer started spinning in the roulette. Congratulations, the host has received the opportunity to unlock the point mall. Will the host use it? Yes. Yili didn't expect there to be a point mall. Then, an icon of the point mall appeared in his mind. He entered the point mall and found that he had 1 million points. This surprised him a bit. Could it be that he had so many points because he had synthesized so many zombies? The items in the point mall were diverse, but most of them didn't interest Yili. However, for awakened beings, the items here were priceless treasures. If he wanted the White Lotus sect to obey his orders, he couldn't do without some strength. Suddenly, a vial of potion caught his eye. This potion could forcibly upgrade a person into an evolved being. The price was 10,000 points. Without much thought, Yili directly bought 10 vials of this level-raising potion. Qin-Chi, do you really want to follow me? Yili looked at Qin-Chi, who was kneeling on the ground. Qin-Chi's face was resolute as he said, Senior, if I speak a word of falsehood, may I be struck by lightning. In that case, I'll give you some treasures. With that, Yili handed the 10 vials of level-raising potion to Qin-Chi. Qin-Chi's face showed some confusion. Clearly, he didn't understand what these things were. Drink them all, Yili said calmly. Without hesitation, Qin-Chi drank all 10 vials of the level-raising potion. In an instant, his body began to undergo changes. Tier 1 Evolved Being. Tier 2 Evolved Being. Tier 3 Evolved Being. Qin-Chi stopped when he became a Tier 3 Evolved Being. Qin-Chi looked at his own hands, unable to believe it. He muttered to himself, I'm a Tier 3 Evolved Being now. Happiness came too suddenly. Since he was young, Qin-Chi had endured countless humiliations. Even after joining the White Lotus sect, he was still ridiculed by others. But now, he had become a Tier 3 Evolved Being. Thank you, Senior. Qin-Chi kowtowed to Yili 3 more times. Over 200 genetic warriors of the White Lotus sect were shocked to see this. They finally understood that Shi Yuan and Bai Shan had offended an existence like a towering mountain. Chapter 101, West Mountain Burial Mound. Yili looked at Qin-Chi and said, From now on, you will be the leader of the White Lotus sect. Qin-Chi was taken aback. Senior, you, what? Don't want to? No, I'm willing. I'm willing. Qin-Chi was instantly overjoyed. He never imagined that he could become the leader of the White Lotus sect in his lifetime. You may leave now, Yili said slowly. Qin-Chi hesitated for a moment, quietly sizing up Yili. He found that Yili's face was calm, like still water, as if nothing had happened. Indeed, a true senior always concealed their strength and abilities. Immediately, Qin-Chi led the remaining members of the White Lotus sect and departed. Yili looked at the more than 5,000 zombies of varying levels in front of him, both male and female. Tall, short, fat, thin, each had its own unique characteristics. If there were a zombie matchmaking event, it might actually be quite interesting. These zombies were all the zombies in Dongcheng. Yili activated the synthesis grid in his mind and began to synthesize these zombies. Synthesizing over 5,000 zombies required some effort, but in the end, Yili successfully synthesized a Tier 3 male zombie and a Tier 3 female zombie. A rewarding harvest indeed. A rare excited smile appeared on Yili's face. Now that the White Lotus sect had been dealt with, it was time to open the Super Treasure Map. He found the Super Treasure Map in the system space and clicked to open it. Does the host want to activate the Super Treasure Map? Yes. Super Treasure Map activation in progress, 10%, 30%, 60%, 100%. Location, West Mountain Burial Mound. Coordinates appeared in Yili's mind. He took a look and realized that West Mountain Burial Mound was no longer within the territory of Annan Base City. However, to reach West Mountain Burial Mound, he didn't need to pass through other cities. He just needed to go there directly from the mountains. West Mountain Burial Mound is just an ordinary graveyard, isn't it? Yili thought. Could there be some amazing treasure hidden there? Thinking of this, Yili felt like this super treasure map might have been wasted. He had thought there would be something good. But he still had to go and see. What if there was indeed something there? Following the coordinates in his mind, Yili climbed a mountain and walked along the mountain path. After an unknown amount of time, Yili finally arrived at his destination, wiping the sweat off his forehead. Yili looked at the scene before him. Desolate, endlessly desolate. There were tombs everywhere, with incomplete and worn tombstones. The engraved characters had become blurred over time. Occasionally, there were eerie calls of strange birds that sent shivers down one's spine. Boundless darkness shrouded the graveyard, and ghostly lights were visible all around. The cold moon hung high in the night sky, casting a cold, luminous glow on the tombstones, making them look particularly dazzling. Indeed, it's a graveyard, Yili murmured to himself. He summoned Ada, Hongye, and Baiwawa from the system space. This West Mountain burial mound gave Yili a vague feeling that it was not ordinary. He decided to be cautious, there might be something strange hidden here. But the super treasure map only provided the location, how was he supposed to find anything? Was he supposed to dig up the graves? The thought gave Yili a headache. As a transmigrator, he felt a bit guilty about doing such things. But it seemed like that was the only option available now. Just as Yili was preparing to take action, he unexpectedly heard voices speaking. Chapter 102, Two terrified girls. Yili heard voices speaking, and it wasn't just one person talking. Sister Sunner, does the West Mountain burial mound really have blood lotus crystals? Of course, all buried here are ancient generals, and their murderous aura is extremely heavy. This place is also the land of extreme Yin, so blood lotus crystals must grow here. Sister Sunner, as long as we find the blood lotus crystal, we can heal Grandpa's injuries. The speakers were two young girls, one older and one younger. The older one looked about 16 or 17 years old, while the younger one looked around 12 or 13. They had some resemblance in appearance and were dressed very elegantly, clearly coming from prominent families. Yili felt a bit displeased. He thought it might be vengeful spirits coming out of their graves, but it turned out to be two clueless girls. They interrupted his search for treasures, and he was genuinely annoyed. Sister Sunner, there are so many graves. How do we search? Su Xiaoqiao asked in a low voice. Blood lotus crystals grow inside coffins. We have to dig until we find them, Su Sunner said. But Sister Sunner, I'm scared. Upon hearing this, Su Xiaoqiao's face turned pale. Xiaoqiao, don't you want to save Grandpa? Su Xiaoqiao pouted and said resolutely, for the sake of Grandpa, I'm willing to do it. Yili almost burst out laughing. In this world filled with zombies, they were afraid of this. It was truly amusing. However, the strength of these two girls was quite impressive. One was a Tier 1 evolved being, and the other was a 7th-level awakened being. It seemed that they came from a powerful base city, at least not on the same level as Annan base city. They were here to find blood lotus crystals, while Yili was searching for treasures. He didn't think there was any harm in going out now. With that in mind, he strode out. Do you know that I was here first? Yili said lightly. Startled by the sudden voice, Su Sunner and Su Xiaoqiao shuddered. Sister Sunner, there's a ghost. A ghost. Su Xiaoqiao was so scared that she closed her eyes and screamed loudly. A ghost? Where is the ghost? Yili chuckled. Su Sunner calmed her nerves and looked at Yili, realizing that there were 3 people with him. The man in front of her was quite handsome, but the other 3. As Su Sunner carefully observed, she was terrified by what she saw. 5th-tier zombies. The eyes of the 5th-tier zombies were silver, just like the eyes of Ada, Hongye, and Baiwawa. Su Xiaoqiao opened her eyes upon hearing this, and when she saw the 3 5th-tier zombies beside Yili, she screamed and quickly hid behind Su Sunner. Sister Suner, what should we do? Su Xiaoqiao asked in terror. Su Suner was also at a loss. She was only a Tier 1 evolved being, and facing 3 5th-tier zombies, there was no chance of survival. Who are you? Su Suner asked fearfully, looking at Yili. Yili inwardly smiled, thinking that Ada, Hongye, and Bai Wawa had indeed scared these two girls quite a bit. Yili, and you? Yili said casually. Su Suner was taken aback, looking puzzled. Shouldn't zombies immediately attack when they see humans? Why were these 3 5th-tier zombies still standing still? Moreover, these 3 5th-tier zombies were with a human. Could it be? Su Suner suddenly thought of a shocking possibility. The incredibly handsome man in front of her was from the dark race. Are you from the dark race? Su Suner was on the verge of tears. How could she have imagined encountering someone from the dark race here? Su Xiaoqiao was equally terrified, hiding behind Su Suner and not daring to show her head. Chapter 103, Su family in Huangjiang Base City. Yili felt a bit helpless. Why did people always assume he was from the dark race? He clearly wasn't. You seem to have not answered my question, Yili said calmly, looking at Su Suner. Su Suner swallowed nervously and said in shock, I'm Su Suner, and she's my younger sister, Su Xiaoqiao. At this moment, they could only compromise. They had no backup with them right now, and they could only hope that this member of the dark race wouldn't kill them. Otherwise, they had no chance of survival. What are you looking for? The blood lotus crystal. What is that thing? Yili asked, as it was the first time he heard this name and had no idea what it was. My grandfather suffered a severe injury and needs the blood lotus crystal, Su Suner explained. Yili pondered for a few seconds before asking further, which base city are you from? We are from the Su family in Huangjiang Base City. Can you spare us? Su Suner asked fearfully. She knew that members of the dark race were certainly not good people. They were responsible for the zombie virus, so at this moment, she could only say this, hoping to save her and her sister's lives. Spare you? Yili found it somewhat amusing. Su Suner looked at the expression on Yili's face and knew that it was impossible to expect the dark race to spare them. When did I say I was going to kill you? Yili couldn't understand why people always assumed he was from the dark race and enjoyed killing. When he was in China, he even had a nickname, Prince Charming. Su Suner and Su Xiaoqiao were both taken aback. Even in their wildest dreams, they never expected that this man would say something like that. Could it be that some members of the dark race were good people? How did your grandfather get injured? Yili thought that saving someone's life was a great thing, but of course, he had to see if their grandfather was worth saving. Su Suner quickly explained, my grandfather is the Grand Elder of the Martial Artist Alliance in Huangjiang Base City. He fought against the Alliance leader and was severely injured. That's right. The Alliance leader is a big villain. He wanted to defect. Of course, my grandfather couldn't agree to it. It's just that my grandfather is not as strong as the villainous Alliance leader. Su Xiaoqiao said indignantly. Hearing this, Yili understood the situation. Thinking that their grandfather was a loyal and righteous person, he felt that saving him would be worthwhile. You two can go back now, and I will save your grandfather, Yili said slowly. His healing ability was already at full level, so he could treat any injury or illness. Su Suner and Su Xiaoqiao were stunned upon hearing this. The dark race saving someone. It was as if they had heard something they could never imagine. Not just them, but anyone would find it hard to believe. But if we don't have the blood lotus crystal, my grandfather can only live for half a month, Su Suner looked at Yili pitifully. She naturally didn't believe that Yili would save her grandfather. Half a month? That time was more than sufficient, and there was nothing to worry about. Do you not believe in me, Yili? Yi looked at Su Suner and Su Xiaoqiao. In his heart, he was thinking, don't delay my treasure hunt. When I'm done, 111 go to Huangjiang base city to save your grandfather. Su Suner didn't know how to answer. Naturally, she didn't believe in Yi. How could a member of the dark race possibly save someone? Just then, a sudden noise emerged. Hiss, hiss. If Yi didn't hear it wrong, it sounded like the hissing of a snake. Ali! Su Suner and Su Xiaoqiao screamed and ran to Yi, disregarding their safety. Chapter 104, Eating the Snake Gallbladder. Yi focused his gaze and saw a giant python rushing towards them like a wild horse. This python was extremely long with spots that shimmered with a cold light. It moved forward like lightning, shaking the grass, trees, and rocks as it opened its mouth and spat out an astonishing gallbladder. Its movements to hunt for food made people panic, and anyone caught in its mouth had no chance of survival. This python was different from the giant pythons on TV. Its entire body had been zombified, and its eyes were blood red. It seemed that this python had been infected by the zombie virus. However, this python was way too big. Yi had never seen such a large python even in movies. Sister, what do we do? Su Xiaoqiao said fearfully. I don't know, Su Suner swallowed nervously. The python suddenly stopped, perhaps sensing danger. Yi took out the dragon-slaying blade from the system space. Although the python had been zombified, its internal organs should be intact. Such a large snake. Then wouldn't its gallbladder be a great tonic? With this thought, Yi's face lit up. Hiss, hiss. The python hissed and then rushed towards them. Believe it or not, it was the python that attacked first. Swish! Yi wielded the dragon-slaying blade. A cold light flashed in the dark night. Despite this python's huge size, Yi was still a Tier 4 evolved being. With the power of the ancient Devil Tome's first layer and the dragon-slaying blade, he was more than capable of taking on a Tier 5 evolved being. Clang! Yi's blade struck the python's tail, instantly separating it from the snake body. The python let out a terrifying hissing, and Su Suner and Su Xiaoqiao quickly covered their ears. The python's shrill scream was too horrifying to listen to. It seemed that this python's strength was no more than that of a Tier 2 evolved being. Yi didn't give the python any chance to react. He swung his blade again, without any additional blade aura or using the flame blade technique. It was a plain and unremarkable strike, but filled with killing intent. This strike aimed at the python's head with lightning speed. How could the python withstand such a fast attack? It died on the spot. Su Suner and Su Xiaoqiao were stunned. They couldn't have imagined that a python of this size could be killed with just 2 strikes from Yi. Moreover, the blade in Yi's hand was what truly shocked Su Suner. The blade was too terrifying, she had never seen such a frightening weapon. The blade's hilt depicted a 5-clawed blood dragon, causing her whole body to tremble uncontrollably. This tremor came from the depths of her soul. However, what Yi did next shocked Su Suner and Su Xiaoqiao even more. Yi used the dragon-slaying blade to cut open the python's belly. Yi took out the python's gallbladder, holding the bloodied mass in his hand. Although the gallbladder had no use for him now, he hadn't tried it yet, so he decided to give it a try. Normally, snake gallbladders were swallowed whole, but Yi didn't know about this and just took a bite. With that bite, bile splattered everywhere. That taste was simply indescribable. Yi almost wanted to vomit, but before he could do so, he forcibly swallowed it. Ding! Acquired skill, Heavenly Spirit Eyes. Heavenly Spirit Eyes, even in pitch-black darkness, you can see everything as clearly as day, so you can launch attacks that penetrate everything. Looking at the introduction of Heavenly Spirit Eyes, Yi thought he had become Ultraman Sazay, but this rubbish skill was useless. Chapter 105, The Blood-Red Coffin. After fusing the heavenly spirit eyes, Yili looked somewhat bored. He now had the flame blade technique, as well as one yang finger and heavenly spirit eyes. His attacks were now quite formidable. Was the super treasure map referring to this giant python? Yili felt a little disappointed. He turned around and looked at Su Suner and Su Xiaoqiao, only to find that the two girls were frozen in place like statues. Are you surprised? Yili said. Su Suner and Su Xiaoqiao snapped back to reality upon hearing his words. They looked at Yili in astonishment. They couldn't help but wonder if all dark race members were this strange, as he had swallowed something so bloody without any hesitation. Never be surprised by anything I do, because everything one do will leave you astonished for 3 days and nights, Yili continued. Su Suner and Su Xiaoqiao exchanged glances. They had never encountered a dark race member before, and today, they had finally met one. What surprised them was that this dark race didn't harm them at all. In the apocalypse, the dark race had done a lot of evil deeds, and they had believed that all dark race members were bad. But now, it seemed that it wasn't entirely true. If they knew that Yili wasn't a dark race member but a human, they must be even more surprised. However, Yili didn't want to explain. All the genetic warriors in the apocalypse knew that only dark race members could control zombies. No matter how he explained, they wouldn't believe it. You can go back. I will go and treat your grandfather's injuries, Yili said to Su Suner and Su Xiaoqiao. Upon hearing this, Su Suner's face showed a sense of loss. How could she not know that this dark race member was deceiving her? The dark race would never heal a human. But what else could she do now? The other party was so powerful, and he had 3 fifth-tier zombies with him. Let's go, Xiaoqiao, Su Suner said to Su Xiaoqiao. Sister, are we not going to find the blood-red crystal anymore? Su Xiaoqiao looked at Su Suner in surprise. We have to trust him, Su Suner sighed inwardly. Su Suner had to say this, otherwise, she was afraid of displeasing Yili. Her grandfather, could it be? Thinking of this, Su Suner couldn't help but want to cry. Her grandfather was such a hero, but now he was lying on the bed on the verge of death. To heal her grandfather's injuries, they needed the blood-red crystal from the extreme Yin land, but they had encountered a dark race member. Su Suner and Su Xiaoqiao left West Mountain Burial Mound. After their figures disappeared from Yili's sight, he turned to Aada, Hongye, and Bai Wawa, saying, take action. With Yili's command, Aada, Hongye, and Bai Wawa began their work, digging open one tomb after another. Although Yili didn't want to do this, he had no other choice. He couldn't believe that the treasure indicated by the super treasure map was the python's gallbladder. If it were true, he might as well not have come. The night grew deeper, and the cold moon in the night sky became even colder. The cold moonlight spilled onto the decaying coffins, revealing one skeleton after another in Yili's eyes. If it were in China, Yili would probably be scared by this scene and develop a psychological shadow. But here, Yili's exceptionally handsome face remained unchanged, showing no signs of emotion. Suddenly, Bai Wawa dug up a blood-red coffin. Ah! A piercing scream came from the blood-red coffin, sending shivers down one's spine. Chapter 106, Lowly Zombie. Listening to the hair-raising sound, Yili couldn't help but feel a little surprised. He thought, could this be the corpse transformation? But it seemed so. However, the bodies buried in West Mountain Burial Mound had been here for many years. If they were to undergo corpse transformation, their strength should be considerable. Suddenly, the blood-red coffin began to tremble violently. Yili became quite excited. Perhaps the treasure indicated by the super treasure map was inside this coffin. Bai Wawa, open this coffin. Yili ordered Bai Wawa. Bai Wawa chuckled upon hearing the command and kicked the blood-red coffin open with one foot. Bai Wawa's foot was now quite powerful, a Qilin foot, although it was only at the D level. After the blood-red coffin was kicked open, Yili looked inside. What he saw left him stunned. Yili was stunned. What did he see exactly? Inside the coffin lay a lifelike corpse, a woman with a face as exquisite as jade, draped in a graceful robe. If it weren't for this place, Yili would have thought it was a sleeping beauty, not a corpse. However, what surprised Yili was not why the woman still looked so lifelike. He was surprised by the spiritual light emanating from the woman's abdomen. Then, Yili heard something. He actually heard the crying of a baby. Could it be? Yili suddenly thought of a possibility, that the woman was about to give birth. What an astonishing possibility! And indeed, a baby crawled out of the woman's belly. This scene was so eerie. The baby was a girl, chubby and adorable. However, this baby was not human. She was a zombie infant. Then, even more shocking things happened. A purple light appeared all over the zombie infant's body, and she began to grow visibly with the naked eye. The zombie infant grew to the appearance of an 8 or 9-year-old before her growth stopped. Her face was not heavily decayed, but still distinct from that of a human. The most striking thing was that the zombie infant's face was too adorable. She was so cute that Yili felt his heart had almost melted. She was a loli. Looking at this loli, Yili found that she was a tier 1 zombie. Huh. He just happened to want to cultivate a loli zombie, and unexpectedly, he found one with no effort at all. However, this loli wasn't created by him, she wouldn't listen to him. Roar. The loli zombie roared and pounced at Yili. Bai Wawa stood in front and, with absolute defense, the tier 1 zombie appeared weak and powerless. The loli zombie was sent flying by Bai Wawa and fell heavily to the ground. Bai Wawa, restrain her, Yili instructed Bai Wawa. Bai Wawa nodded and quickly went over, pinning the loli zombie down. She couldn't move anymore. Although Bai Wawa looked like a 7 or 8-year-old, his body was huge. He must have weighed nearly 200 kgs. After thinking for a moment, Yili realized he still had the point mall. He wondered if there was any solution in the point mall. Upon opening it, he found that he had 900,000 points left. After searching for a while, he finally found a solution. Zombie Loyalty Elixir makes the loyalty of zombies reach 100%. Price, 10,000 points. Chapter 107, Loli Zombie Yutong. Yili spent 10,000 points in the mall to buy the Zombie Loyalty Elixir. His points decreased from 900,000 to 890,000. With the Zombie Loyalty Elixir, the loli zombie would now unquestionably obey his commands. Holding the Zombie Loyalty Elixir, Yili approached the loli zombie, who was firmly held down by Alda and couldn't move. The loli zombie glared at Yili with gritted teeth, as if she wanted to tear him apart. Bai Wawa, open her mouth, Yili commanded Bai Wawa. Bai Wawa instantly pried open the loli zombie's mouth. As a 5th-tier zombie, Bai Wawa's strength left the loli zombie with no choice but to comply. Roar! Roar! The loli zombie let out a violent roar. Yili poured the Zombie Loyalty Elixir into her mouth. The loli zombie became calm as if she had been administered a tranquilizer. This little loli zombie was born as a tier 1 zombie, which meant her mother was even more powerful. Yili looked back at the blood-red coffin and found that the beauty inside had turned into a skeleton. Seeing this, Yili felt deeply moved. She couldn't even take a look at her own daughter before she perished. Let's give her a name, Yili said to himself. After pondering for a few seconds, he looked at the loli zombie and said, let's call you Yutong. He checked Yutong's attributes. Yutong, tier 1 zombie. Zombie power, petrification. Zombie attribute, magic. Hiss. Yili couldn't help but take a deep breath. Petrification ability? Isn't that similar to Medusa's ability? Then he checked the other zombies in the system space. Apart from Alda, Hongya, and Bai Wawa, there was a third-tier male zombie and a third-tier female zombie. If he wanted to upgrade Yutong, he couldn't do it right now. Yili thought that Yutong might be the treasure from the super treasure map. Just as he was about to leave, he heard countless terrifying sounds. Roar! Roar! Zombies crawled out of each tomb. Most of these zombies were ancient famous generals, and they held various types of weapons. There were trident spears, merciless water and fire blades, an excellent silver dragon staff, and so on. However, these zombies were all high-level zombies, too weak to be a threat. Yili let Bai Wawa handle them and opened the synthesis grid in his mind to start synthesizing. Bai Wawa leaped up and sat down, as if Mount Tai was pressing down. Several zombies fell instantly, and Yili began synthesizing. A few minutes later, he had synthesized all these zombies. 3 first-tier male zombies, not bad. What's regrettable was there were no female zombies, otherwise, he could have upgraded Yutong. Yili didn't stay too long in West Mountain Burial Mound. He headed down the mountain and, with the heavenly spirit eyes, he could clearly see a huge base city below the mountain. He believed this base city must be Huangjiang Base City. By now, it was late at night. After arriving at Huangjiang Base City, Yili found that he had no apocalypse currency in his pocket. He had no choice but to find a corner to rest and sleep. For Yili, a prominent figure, to sleep on the street was quite ridiculous, but he didn't care. A real man could be flexible when necessary. The next day, at dawn. The system prompt sounded in Yili's mind. Zombie treasure chest X9. Yili opened the zombie treasure chests with a single click, acquired 400 gene points, 400 strength points, 400 speed points, and 400 defense points. Acquired the supreme boxing gloves. Chapter 109, Never attempt to threaten me. As the words fell, Lu Qian raised her palm and struck at Yili. A red spiritual energy accompanied Lu Qian's palm strike. Red represented an level genetic talent, which could be considered a high-level genetic talent. Unfortunately, in front of Yili, she was outmatched. Yili remained calm and slowly raised 2 fingers, catching Lu Qian's palm between them. Lu Qian was startled. She had thought that after this strike, Yili would be seriously injured, but she could never have expected that her attack would be easily neutralized. Moreover, Yili even caught her palm. Lu Qian was shocked. She had thought Yili was just an overreaching frog in a well, trying to eat swan meat. However, her opinion changed now because she realized that Yili might be a second-tier evolved being. If Yili were just a first-tier evolved being, she would have seen his strength. However, she couldn't see through him now, which meant that Yili must be a second-tier evolved being. Lu Qian didn't believe Yili was a third-tier evolved being because he looked to be around 20 years old. Let go. Lu Qian stared coldly at Yili. Yili smiled faintly. Do you think you have the right to make me let go? You, Lu Qian glared at Yili. Although the Lu family was not a top family in Huangjiang Base City, it still held considerable influence. In front of her, this person was only a second-tier evolved being, yet he dared to be so arrogant. I am from the Lu family. If you don't let go, I guarantee you will regret it. Lu Qian said coldly. Yili shook his head slowly and said nonchalantly, trash. What did you just say? Lu Qian enunciated each word, staring at Yili intently. She always regarded her family highly, but this person just called her family trash. How could she tolerate it? I'll give you one more chance. Take me to the Su family, Yili said calmly. I'll also give you one more chance. If you don't let go of me, I'll make you pay 100 times. Lu Qian said coldly. Yili smiled calmly, shook his head again, and said slowly, never try to threaten me, Yili. don't even attempt it." As his words fell, a crisp sound was heard. Lu Qian's hand was dislocated. "Ollie!" Lu Qian cried out in pain, tears streaming down her face. "Ouch, it hurts so much." Yi Li released Lu Qian slowly, his face calm as water. "Now, can you take me to the Su family?" "Boo-hoo, one will never let you off." Lu Qian tearfully looked at Yi Li, clearly never having been treated this way before. There was a saying that went, women were difficult to deal with. Yi Li watched Lu Qian crying and activated his healing ability. He quickly grabbed Lu Qian's hand. In an instant, Lu Qian's dislocated hand was completely healed. Lu Qian's fair face was full of astonishment, she felt that all of this was too surreal. However, her hand really didn't hurt anymore. It was too incredible. "Let's go." "Don't make me truly angry," Yi Li said calmly. Lu Qian was taken aback, she knew Yi Li wasn't just making an empty threat. Such a person was truly terrifying. As a first-tier evolved being, she had no way to deal with a second-tier evolved being. Lu Qian thought about taking him to the Su family now and letting Suner deal with him later. "Fine, 111 take you to the Su family," Lu Qian said to Yi Li. Chapter 110, Arriving at the Su family. Lu Qian drove a red Porsche with Yi Li as a passenger. Yi Li couldn't help but smile. In this parallel world, even such luxury cars existed. One must remember that this was the apocalypse. The infected zones and base cities were completely different worlds. In the base city, both men and women had more or less happy smiles on their faces. They didn't need to worry about zombies because the Warrior Alliance stood guard. The Warrior Alliance was the strongest human force in the apocalypse and had branches in many base cities, including the one in Huangjiang Base City. On the other hand, the infected zones were even scarier than hell. If an ordinary person accidentally entered the infected zone, they would experience the most terrifying things in their life. Lu Qian stepped on the gas pedal of the Porsche, feeling indignant. As the eldest daughter of the Lu family, she had been the center of attention since birth. However, today, she encountered someone so unperceptive. They finally arrived at the grand villa of the Su family. The Su family was one of the top families in Huangjiang Base City, and this independent villa was incredibly large. At the entrance, there were two first-tier evolved beings guarding it. First-tier evolved beings were actually serving as guards. "Can you believe it? Miss Lu, you've arrived." It was evident that the two first-tier evolved beings recognized Lu Qian. Lu Qian nodded. "Is Suner at home?" "Miss Suner is at home," one of the evolved beings replied respectfully. Yi Li thought that Huangjiang Base City was indeed much stronger than Annan Base City. Lu Qian looked at Yi Li. "This is the Su family. Are you sure you want to go in?" Yi Li felt somewhat speechless. Where did this girl's confidence come from? Did she think he was here just to climb up the social ladder? She was truly ignorant. Yi Li nodded. "Let's go in." Lu Qian looked at Yi Li's indifferent face, feeling secretly angry, thinking about what to do when they entered the Su family. Yi Li and Lu Qian entered the Su family. The Su family was indeed enormous, with patrols composed of evolved beings. After walking for a while, they finally reached a castle-like hall. Su Xiaoqiao was pacing back and forth outside. She seemed very anxious. "Xiaoqiao," Lu Qian called out to Su Xiaoqiao. Su Xiaoqiao looked around 12 or 13 years old and was very cute. When she saw Lu Qian, she immediately burst into tears and threw herself into Lu Qian's arms. "Sister Qian, grandfather's injury has worsened again." Su Xiaoqiao looked pitifully at Lu Qian. "Don't cry, Xiaoqiao. Grandpa Su will get better." Lu Qian patted Su Xiaoqiao's head comfortingly. Yi Li thought that Su Xiaoqiao seemed to completely ignore him. "Xiaoqiao, take me to treat your grandfather's injury," Yi Li said calmly. Chapter 111, You're not qualified to speak to me. Yili Lu Qian was puzzled by Su Sun'er's astonished expression and wondered why she was so surprised to see this person. She couldn't help but wonder if they really knew each other. Sun'er, do you know him? Lu Qian asked tentatively. Once Lu Qian asked this question, Su Sun'er finally regained her senses. Senior, you. Su Sun'er looked at Yili, finding it hard to believe that he was actually here. After all, Yili was a member of the dark race. Could a member of the dark race really come to treat humans? If the news was to be spread, no one would believe it. Lu Qian was even more astonished. Su Sun'er actually called this person senior. She had initially thought of using the Su family's power to teach him a lesson, but now it seemed that her idea was simply laughable. Take me to your grandfather, Yili said calmly. Su Sun'er was taken aback. What was happening in this world? Seeing that Su Sun'er was frozen in place, Yili's expression turned displeased. What's the matter? Don't you believe me? Yili asked Su Sun'er. Of course, Su Sun'er didn't believe Yili. She was afraid that Yili would harm her grandfather. Yili smiled inwardly, thinking that if she didn't believe him, there was no need for him to stay. Just as he was about to leave when he heard a slightly deep voice. Sun'er, do you have a friend here? The speaker was a middle-aged man, exuding an air of majesty. He was dressed in a valuable suit. Second uncle, he is. Su Sun'er didn't know how to answer. She was well aware that Yili belonged to the dark race, but he hadn't harmed her and Su Xiaoqiao yesterday. He even saved their lives. The middle-aged man's name was Su Yongchang, the second son of the Su family, a fourth-tier evolved being. Uncle Su, he said he came to treat Grandpa's injuries, Lu Qian explained to Su Yongchang. Su Yongchang was taken aback. Treat Dad's injuries? He scrutinized Yili from top to bottom and found that Yili was too young. How could someone like him dare to say that he would treat his father's injuries? Apart from being here to cause trouble, Su Yongchang couldn't think of any other explanation. Young man, you have quite an audacious tone. Su Yongchang stared at Yili. My name is Yili, and I've always been audacious, Yili replied calmly. His words left everyone in shock. They would never have thought that Yili would dare to say such things to Su Yongchang. However, Su Sun'er and Su Xiaoqiao knew that Yili indeed dared to say such things because he had 3 tier 5 zombies, even though they were not by his side at the moment. Su Yongchang chuckled coldly after hearing Yili's response. Young man, do you know that you are the first person to talk to me like this? Yili had originally thought that as one of the top families in Huangjiang Bay City, the Su family's members wouldn't be stupid. However, now it seemed that not only was he wrong, but he was completely wrong. It turned out that the Su family was just a bunch of snobs. You're not qualified to speak to me, Yili said indifferently. Then he was ready to leave. He came to the Su family just to treat Su grandpa's injuries. He believed that Su grandpa was a hero. Since the people of the Su family didn't believe him, there was no need for him to stay and beg for their acceptance. Young man, what did you say? Su Yongchang shouted angrily. Immediately, more than a dozen first-tier evolved beings blocked Yili's way. Lu Qian felt very pleased. She thought that Yili and Su Sun'er had a good relationship, but it seemed that it wasn't the case. She was curious to see what Yili would do now that he had offended Su Yongchang. Chapter 112, Yili's arrogance. Su Yongchang stared at Yili. He had never encountered such an arrogant junior before. Young man, I'll give you a chance. As long as you apologize, I'll spare your life. Su Sun'er turned anxious upon hearing this. Second uncle, just let him go. Su Yongchang smiled coldly. Sun'er, don't interfere in this matter. Although your grandpa is seriously injured, the Su family is not what anyone can bully. The Su family had a formidable network of connections in Huangjiang Bay City, with almost all martial families being affiliated with them. When the Warrior Alliance sent representatives to establish a branch in Huangjiang Bay City, Su Changfeng, the head of the Su family, naturally became a prominent figure. The leader of the Huangjiang Bay City's Warrior Alliance was Meng Kai, a 7th-tier evolved being. During the recent attack on Huangjiang Bay City by the Dark Race and the Zombie Army, a fierce battle had lasted for 10 days and nights, resulting in the defeat of the Dark Race and zombies. Although Meng Kai was a 7th-tier evolved being, he was a coward. Under the pressure and temptation from the Dark Race, he chose to surrender. As the Grand Elder, Su Changfeng naturally disagreed with Meng Kai's decision, and the other martial families and genetic warriors in Huangjiang Bay City didn't agree either. Meng Kai came from the Warrior Alliance headquarters and had always looked down on these smaller base cities. Su Changfeng's disagreement made him feel that his authority was being challenged. He had fought a fierce battle with Su Changfeng, resulting in serious injuries for both sides. However, Meng Kai managed to escape and was currently nowhere to be found. But Su Changfeng's serious injury was a significant event in Huangjiang Bay City. It could be said that Su Changfeng was the backbone of Huangjiang Bay City, an irreplaceable pillar. If Su Changfeng fell, the entire Huangjiang Bay City would lose its core. If the Dark Race and zombies attacked Huangjiang Bay City again, there would be a risk of it falling into their hands. Yi Li remained calm, as if he hadn't even noticed Su Yangchang's presence. Seeing Yi Li's calm and indifferent expression, Su Yangchang's veins bulged with anger. "Young man, aren't you afraid of death?" He had never seen such a fearless person. Even in the face of him, Yi Li remained so calm. Yi Li smiled. "Of course I'm afraid. But do you really think you can decide my death?" Silence, dead silence. Everyone present widened their eyes. They could never have imagined that Yi Li would be so audacious. "What makes you junks think you can stop my path?" Yi Li disdainfully looked at the dozen or so first-tier evolved beings blocking his way. Hearing this, those first-tier evolved beings were all gnashing their teeth in anger. They were just waiting for Su Yangchang's order to attack. "Do you believe that I can knock off all your teeth with just one finger?" Yi Li continued. Su Yongchang, Su Suner, Su Xiaochao, Lu Qian, and the other first-tier evolved beings were all shocked beyond belief. Was this guy crazy? They felt that Yi Li was not just seeking death, he was practically begging for it. Even Su Suner felt this way. Although Yi Li was a member of the Dark Race and had 3-tier, 5 zombies, so what? This was the Su family, and this was Huangjiang Bay City. "Young man, since you're so eager to die, 111 give you the chance. Kill him," Su Yongchang said coldly. Chapter 113, Patriarch Su can be saved. After Su Yongchang gave the order, the dozen or so first-stage evolved beings blocking Yi Li's way rushed toward him. Yi Li couldn't understand. He really couldn't understand. Why were there always so many stupid people? He slowly raised his index finger and launched the one yang finger at the rushing first-tier evolved beings. Swish! 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 Several sharp sounds of breaking wind suddenly rang, followed by a series of screams. All the first-tier evolved beings who charged at Yi Li fell to the ground, clutching their legs and screaming in pain. The entire process took less than a second. Silence, a deadly silence. Su Yangchang's eyes widened, and he couldn't believe what he had just witnessed. He blinked several times before finally realizing that it was all real. Su Suner and Su Xiaochao knew that Yi Li was strong, but they never expected him to be this powerful. The most surprised one was Lu Qian. She had thought that Yi Li was just a country bumpkin. When Yi Li offended Su Yongchang, she secretly rejoiced, wanting Su Yongchang to teach Yi Li a lesson. But she never imagined that it would turn out like this. "I said, I only need one finger to knock off all your teeth. Why don't you believe me? Yili looked at the dozen or so first-tier evolved beings on the ground and said casually. Yili turned around slowly, looking at Su Yongchang. Didn't you say you wanted to grant me death? Come on, do it. Upon hearing this, Su Yongchang finally regained his senses. His eyes were now spewing out raging flames of fury. Do you know this is the Su family? Su Yongchang thundered. Yili smiled indifferently. And so what if I do? Su Yongchang's anger reached its peak. What's going on? Another deep voice resounded. Yili followed the voice and saw a middle-aged man of about 40 walking over. The middle-aged man walked steadily, his eyes filled with killing intent, and his face lines were chiseled. Behind the middle-aged man was an old man, a first-tier evolved being, wearing a medical robe, and his hair was slightly graying. Big brother, this brat is too arrogant. How dare he provoke our Su family? Su Yongchang yelled at the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man was named Su Yao, the eldest son of the Su family, and also one of the powerful figures in Huangjiang Bay City, a sixth-tier evolved being. Su Yao stared at Yili. He had already had enough troubles, and he never thought that there were still people daring to provoke the Su family. His eyebrows furrowed as he was about to question Yili. However, the old man in a medical robe next to him quickly strode to Yili. Mr. Yi, why have you come to Huangjiang Bay City? The old man respectfully looked at Yili. Upon hearing this, everyone gasped in astonishment. They were all shocked and looked at Yili with disbelief. After all, Miracle Physician Bai was a divine physician from Medicine God Hall and was invited from Annan Bay City at a high price. They would rather believe the sky had fallen. But now, what they were witnessing seemed to contradict their beliefs. I came to take a walk. That's all, Yili said casually. Miracle Physician Bai was delighted. He turned to look at Su Yao and said, Patriarch Su can be saved. Su Suner, Su Xiaochao, Lu Qian, and Su Yongchang were all shocked. Could it be that what Yili said was true? Was he really here to treat Patriarch Su's injuries? For a moment, shock, confusion, and astonishment alternated on their faces. Miracle Physician Bai, what do you mean? Su Yao paused for a moment, looking somewhat puzzled at Miracle Physician Bai. Chapter 114, Such Incredible Techniques. Miracle Physician Bai quickly said, Mr. Su, let me explain to you. Mr. Yi is the best doctor I've ever seen. Ever since Yili casually cured Yun Mu's hidden illness in Annan Bay City, Miracle Physician Bai knew that Yili's medical skills were beyond anything he could achieve in his entire life. Su Yao looked Yili up and down. Why did Miracle Physician Bai think so highly of this young man? He found that Yili was indeed very young, but his eyes were unforgettable to anyone who saw them. They were as tranquil as the night and as deep as the sea. May I ask your name, sir? Su Yao asked Yili. Now his father's injury was getting worse by the day, and he probably couldn't last much longer. He couldn't afford to miss any opportunity. Yili. Yili spoke slowly. Mr. Yi, can you heal my father's injuries? Su Yao asked cautiously. It was a matter of great importance, and he had to be careful. It's just a simple matter. Yili replied casually. For him, with his healing skill at the highest level, it was no different from doing something as simple as raising a hand. Mr. Su, don't say any more. Let Mr. Yi treat Patriarch Su's injuries. Miracle Physician Bai said, fully believing in Yili's medical skills, as he had personally witnessed them. Wait. Yili suddenly said. Everyone was surprised, wondering if Yili was going back on his word. Or perhaps he didn't have the real skill after all. Yili spread out his palm, and golden spiritual energy appeared on it. The golden energy suddenly splashed and sprinkled on the thighs of the dozen or so first-tier evolved beings. The thighs of these first-tier evolved beings had been pierced by horrifying blood holes. But with the golden spiritual energy covering them, these wounds visibly healed at a speed that could be seen with the naked eye. Well, not only the people of the Su family but even Miracle Physician Bai were dumbfounded. This was no longer a medical skill, it was on an entirely different level. Miracle Physician Bai thought that even the Lord of Medicine God Hall might not be as skilled as Mr. Yi. However, Yi Li remained calm as water, as if nothing had happened. I never expected Mr. Yi to possess such incredible techniques. Su Yao's tone became respectful. Let's go. Take me to see Patriarch Su. Yi Li said slowly. Su Yao immediately led Yi Li inside, followed closely by the members of the Su family. Lu Qian, on the other hand, remained in disbelief and froze on the spot. Suddenly, she remembered what her grandfather had once said. Qianer, although you are an absolute genius in Huangjiang Base City, never be arrogant. Remember, there are always people beyond you, talents beyond talents. Grandfather, I don't believe in people being beyond me. But now, Lu Qian finally understood the truth. Su Yao led Yi Li to Patriarch Su's sick room. At this moment, Patriarch Su's breath was already very weak, as if he could die at any moment. Yi Li activated his heavenly spirit eyes and found a deep black handprint on Patriarch Su's body. Mr. Yi, how is it? Su Yao asked in a low voice. Yi Li did not answer, but instead raised his palm and covered it with golden spiritual energy. Then, Yi Li aimed his palm at the area of the black handprint on Patriarch Su's body and slowly infused it with the golden spiritual energy. After a few minutes, sweat began to appear on Yi Li's forehead. Patriarch Su's complexion gradually improved, and after a few more minutes, Yi Li withdrew his palm. It's done, Yi Li said slowly. Chapter 115, Take me to a place with many zombies. As soon as Yi Li finished speaking, Patriarch Su's eyes opened. Yaoer, why do I feel like my injuries are healed? Su Changfeng was astonished as he patted himself all over and found that there was nothing wrong. Dad! Grandpa! The members of the Su family immediately called out to Su Changfeng. Su Changfeng, the unrivaled powerhouse of Huangjiang Bay City, a 7th-tier evolved being. Lu Qian swallowed her saliva. She never expected that the injuries that had left many doctors in Huangjiang Bay City helpless could be healed so easily by Yi Li, God. He must be a deity, right? The image of Yi Li being a bumpkin had completely collapsed in Lu Qian's mind, replaced by the appearance of a war god. Father, Mr. Yi healed you. Su Yao said. Mr. Yi? Su Changfeng looked at Yi Li, and Yi Li looked back at him. As their eyes met, it felt like a silent battle was about to ensue. Thank you for saving my life, Mr. Yi. Su Changfeng sincerely clasped his fists. It doesn't matter, Yi Li replied casually. Su Changfeng thought that indeed, young people could become heroes. With such a demeanor, it was unlikely that there was a second person like Yi Li in the entire post-apocalyptic world. What surprised him the most was Yi Li's strength. He was actually a 4th-tier evolved being. Su Yao naturally could see Yi Li's realm as well. So could Su Yongchang. Earlier, they hadn't had the mental space to notice it. But now, after the storm had passed, they were shocked to realize the truth. This young man, who looked around 20 years old, was actually a 4th-tier evolved being, and the spiritual energy he had just used. Su Yao thought about it and widened his eyes as he looked at Yi Li. The spiritual energy he used was golden, which meant that he was an SSS-grade genetic warrior. With different genes, the color of their spiritual energy naturally differed. D-grade genes had green spiritual energy, C-grade genes had blue, B-grade genes had cyan, grade genes had red, S-grade genes had purple, SS-grade genes had blood black, and SSS-grade genes had golden spiritual energy. SSS-grade genetic warriors were only present in those super forces. Suyao couldn't believe that in this tiny Huangjiang base city, they had encountered an SSS-grade genetic warrior. Mr. Yi, you saved my life. Whatever you want, as long as one can do it, I will definitely do it for you. Su Changfeng said resolutely. No need. Just take me to a place with many zombies, Yi Li said calmly. The others were startled again, wondering what kind of request this was. He actually wanted to go to a place with many zombies. Just let Miss Su take me there. Su Changfeng smiled. Sure, there are plenty of zombies in all the sub-cities of Huangjiang Base City. As the saying went, it was hard to find a frog with 2 legs, but a frog with 4 legs could be found everywhere. Now, almost all areas outside the base city were infected areas with plenty of zombies. Yi Li walked out slowly, and Su Changfeng quickly told Su Suner and Su Xiaochao, Suner, hurry and catch up. Su Suner finally came back to her senses, nodding in astonishment, and quickly followed. Seeing this, Lu Qian hesitated for a few seconds and then gritted her teeth, following behind as well. Dad, is it safe? Su Yao was interrupted by Su Changfeng. It's fine. With Mr. Yes' strength, he can protect Suner and Miss Lu. Oh, by the way, how was the defense of Huangjiang Base City during my time of injury? Su Changfeng asked Su Yao. Don't worry, Dad. Huangjiang Base City is now like an iron barrel. No matter how strong the dark race and zombies are, they won't be able to get in. Su Yao said. Chapter 116, Arriving at Pan City, Senior, there are many cities with lots of zombies. Which city do you want to go to? Su Suner asked Yi Li. Any city will do, Yi Li replied casually. He needed to upgrade Yutong, so he naturally had to go to a place with many zombies. Say Senior, I was ignorant before and didn't know your true identity. Lu Qian's words were cut short by Yi Li. Do you think I would even mind? Yi Li spoke slowly. At this point, his perspective far exceeded what these first-tier evolved beings could imagine. Senior, let's go to Pan City. There are a lot of zombies there, Su Suner cautiously suggested while looking at Yi Li. Although she didn't know what happened between the senior and Lu Qian, she felt it was better not to ask too much. Su Suner was puzzled. She thought that Yi Li was part of the dark race. Although he might be a good person, she couldn't understand why Yi Li wanted to go to a place with many zombies. Right, the dark race could control the zombies, so they would not be in danger. Soon, Su Suner got an armored vehicle from the outer city, and then they drove towards Pan City. Pan City was not far from Huangjiang Base City. During the previous massive attack by the dark race and zombies on Huangjiang Base City, many zombies were left behind in Pan City. As they got closer to Pan City, Lu Qian became more and more scared. She knew that there were many zombies in Pan City, and she was just a first-tier evolved being. If she encountered a zombie horde, how could she resist? The ugly daughter-in-law would eventually meet her in-laws. Their armored vehicle eventually arrived at Pan City. As a heavily infected area, Pan City was filled with an unimaginable number of zombies. After getting out of the vehicle, Su Suner and Lu Qian felt a chill down their spines. Senior, where are we going now? Su Suner asked Yi Li. Nowhere. Well, stay here, Yi Li said calmly. After that, he released Ada, Hongye, Bai Wawa, the third-tier male zombie, and the third-tier female zombie. He let them lure the zombies over while he leaned against the armored vehicle, casually waiting. Su Suner and Su Xiaochao were shocked to see the sudden appearance of the zombies and quickly stepped back. Suner, fifth-tier zombies, Lu Qian said in terror. Su Suner calmed herself. She already knew that Yi Li was a member of the dark race and had 3 fifth-tier zombies. Ada led the group of zombies to lure more zombies. Yi Li felt a bit bored and released Yutong from the system space. Yutong was a 7 or 8-year-old girl, and though her face had some signs of zombification, it couldn't hide her cuteness. Yutong, call me big brother, Yili said to Yutong. Yutong, as a first-tier zombie, couldn't speak, so she looked at Yili in a daze. Seeing this, Lu Qian's heart surged with shock. He can actually control the zombies. Could it be? Lu Qian suddenly recalled the two words Su Suner mentioned when they were in the Su family. Could Yili be part of the dark race? Otherwise, how could he control the zombies? As for Lu Qian's shock, Yili paid no attention to it and continued playing with Yutong. However, Yutong's ragged clothes didn't look very nice. Yili then opened the Point Mall to see if there were any good clothes available. Soon, a white Princess Lolita dress caught Yili's eye. White Princess Lolita dress, increases cuteness by 10 after wearing. Price, 5,000 points. Chapter 117, Yutong's crazy upgrade. 5,000 points seemed ridiculously cheap in Yili's eyes. Without any hesitation, he purchased the white Princess Lolita dress. Opening the synthesis grid, Yili dragged the dress onto Yutong's body. Yutong's tattered clothes instantly disappeared, replaced by an adorable white dress. Although Yutong was a zombie, Su Suner and Lu Qian were still stunned. They couldn't have imagined that a zombie could be so cute. Yili nodded in satisfaction. The white Princess Lolita dress indeed increased cuteness by 10 as advertised. It was perfect. But before Su Suner and Lu Qian could fully comprehend the situation, they heard countless zombie roars. Roar! Roar! Su Suner and Lu Qian were stunned to see zombies coming from all directions. They swore that this time they were truly shocked. It was the first time they had seen so many zombies in their lives. They had no idea how many zombies there were, they only knew that these zombies were rushing in like a black cloud. Yili wasn't quite satisfied. He thought, only a few thousand zombies? Boring. After luring the zombies over, Yili ordered Ada and the others to attack. The zombies in Huangjiang Base City were of higher levels, mostly around the 3rd level. Yili opened the synthesis grid and began synthesizing these zombies. With Yili's current speed, synthesizing around 5,000 zombies was too simple for him. Su Suner and Lu Qian watched Ada, Hongya, Bai Wawa, the 3rd-tier male zombie, and the 3rd-tier female zombie effortlessly eliminating the zombies. They were so shocked that they were stuck in place, just like statues. Yili's golden finger was truly terrifying. After synthesizing the zombies, he could make them attack other zombies. He was just afraid that there wouldn't be enough zombies. To be honest, the zombies posed no threat to him at all. As for higher-level zombies, there were none in this area. Ding! Ding! Yutong has become a 2nd-tier zombie. Ding! Ding! Yutong has become a 3rd-tier zombie. The levels of these zombies were generally higher. Yutong had become a 3rd-tier zombie. She already had a 3rd-tier male and a 3rd-tier female zombie. Without much thought, Yili synthesized the 3rd-tier female zombie with Yutong. And just after that, Yutong became a 4th-tier female zombie. Yutong's eyes also turned green. Su Suner and Lu Qian thought that they were already the most shocked they had ever been. However, they found that they were wrong. They were now even more thoroughly shocked. What kind of operation was this? Upgrading the zombies' levels? They clearly remembered that Yutong was just a 1st-tier zombie, but in the blink of an eye, she became a 4th-tier zombie. This was simply impossible. They couldn't figure it out, they really couldn't. Moreover, the thousands of zombies had disappeared without a trace. Su Suner and Lu Qian looked at Yili with extreme caution, only to find that his face remained expressionless. What kind of dark race member was he? They knew that the dark race could control zombies, but could they also enhance their levels? They hadn't even heard of such a thing, let alone seen it. But now, it happened right before their eyes. Yili checked his zombie status. Ada, Hongye, Bai Wawa, and Yutong. Third-tier male zombie, second-tier male zombie, and first-tier female zombie. Chapter 118, The Apocalypse Legion. Yili thought about whether he should give them a name. After some consideration, he came up with a name. The Apocalypse Legion. This name was extremely domineering. From now on, you'll be the commander of the Apocalypse Legion. Yes, master. Alda nodded heavily, and the silver supreme boxing gloves shone brightly under the sunlight, appearing exceptionally dazzling. Ding! Ding! The host has named the zombie group. Congratulations on obtaining a super treasure chest. Would you like to open it? Yili sighed inwardly, thinking that these treasure chests were really everywhere. Open it. Congratulations, the host has obtained the speed skill, Swift Steps. Would you like to cultivate it? Yili was surprised. He had personal experience with the Swift Steps skill. It was an extremely powerful life-saving skill. Yes. Ding. Ding. Cultivating Swift Steps IO%, 30%, 60%, IO%. Swift Steps cultivation successful. Yili checked the level of Swift Steps and found that it was currently at D level. When he was in the abandoned factory, he had obtained a chance to use Swift Steps. That one must have been the full-level godly steps for it to be so quick. In the future, he would cultivate more zombies and conquer the world with the Apocalypse Legion, eliminating anyone in his way, be it gods and demons. Yili imagined standing at the peak, looking down at the world. It must feel great. After Yutong became a fourth-tier zombie, she was incredibly adorable, enough to make one's heart melt. Yutong, call me Big Brother. Yili touched Yutong's head. Fourth-tier zombies could already speak. Master. Yutong actually blushed a little as she called him. Yili was dissatisfied. How could she call him Master instead of Big Brother? Yutong, call me Big Brother. Yili couldn't believe it. He wouldn't believe that he couldn't make Yutong call him Big Brother. Yutong touched her head and then looked at Hongye as if seeking help. Master, why do you want Yutong to call you Big Brother? Facing Hongye's question, Yili was taken aback. Hongye, can't Yutong call me Big Brother? But we all call you Master. Hongye said to Yili, I don't care. Yutong must call me Big Brother. Yutong looked left and right, then looked at Yili and said, Big Brother. Her cute little face looked a little puzzled, as if she couldn't understand why they all called him Master, but she had to call him Big Brother. Yili nodded in satisfaction, thinking that Yutong's voice was so pleasant to hear. He turned around and looked at Su Suner and Lu Qian. To his surprise, Su Suner and Lu Qian looked shocked. What do you want? Su Suner looked at Yili in terror. Yili was puzzled. Why was this girl so jumpy? Are you surprised? Yili looked at Su Suner and Lu Qian calmly. He didn't understand why everyone was so surprised when they faced him. But usually, after saying this, he would add another sentence. Don't ever be surprised because everything one do will astonish you for 3 days and 3 nights. Su Suner and Lu Qian finally realized how terrifying Yili was at this moment. Senior, are you from the dark race? Although Lu Qian was scared, she couldn't suppress her curiosity. She knew that the dark race could control zombies, but how could they possibly upgrade zombies like this? No. Yili shook his head slowly. Chapter 119, Humanoid Mantis Monster. Yili couldn't help but chuckle. Why did people always think he was from the dark race? But it didn't matter anymore. Yutong was now a 4th-tier zombie, and her strength was quite good. After the zombie attack, many zombies retreated to Pan City. Yili thought that there were probably still many zombies in Pan City, so he needed to continue finding zombies to synthesize. Senior, are you really not from the dark race? Lu Qian asked again. Yili was taken aback. Why couldn't this girl understand? Haven't one told you that I'm not from the dark race? Lu Qian cautiously looked at Yili. Although he said so, she knew he must be from the dark race. But Yili seemed more powerful than other dark race members. He could upgrade zombies. Senior, what should we do now? Su Suner looked at Yili hesitantly. Let's keep going. Yili replied calmly. Before he could take a step, he heard a chilling voice. Giggle, one didn't expect there to still be humans coming to Pan City. They really don't know what awaits them. Yili followed the voice and saw a humanoid mantis monster. Its hands were like knives, exuding a chilling light, and it had a pair of steel wings on its back. Dark race. Both Lu Qian and Su Suner's voices were filled with fear. Yili observed the humanoid mantis monster and found that it was a third-tier evolved being. After the humanoid mantis monster spoke, it noticed the zombies beside Yili. It was taken aback, and its face showed a shocked expression. Human, why aren't the zombies attacking you? This humanoid mantis monster was astonished. These were 3 5th-tier zombies and 1 4th-tier zombie. Yili smiled faintly, they are zombies of my Apocalypse Legion. Why would they attack me? The humanoid mantis monster was dumbfounded, it's impossible. There's no dark race aura on you. You are not from the dark race. How can you control zombies, especially such high-level ones? Yili found it boring, don't you think you talk too much? Come here, and let me kill you. With that, Yili beckoned to the humanoid mantis monster. However, the humanoid mantis monster didn't dare to come. After all, there were 3 5th-tier zombies and 1 4th-tier zombie beside Yili. It wouldn't be able to defeat any of them. Human, this is Pan City. The humanoid mantis monster tried to scare Yili away with the number of dark race members and zombies in Pan City, but its plan failed. Yili had come to Pan City specifically because there were many zombies here. Since you won't come, then 111 have to go to kill you. As soon as he finished speaking, Yili made his move. He took out the dragon-slaying blade from the system space, and a cold light struck out instantly. He flew to the side of the humanoid mantis monster. He unleashed the flame blade technique, which was currently at B level and much more powerful than before. The humanoid mantis monster was only at the level of a third-tier evolved being and couldn't withstand such a terrifying attack. Numerous fire blades of the flame blade technique suddenly appeared, turning the area around the humanoid mantis monster into a sea of fire. Ali! The humanoid mantis monster let out a scream, and it had already bid farewell to this world forever. Yili walked out of the sea of fire, and his face still showed no expression, as if nothing had happened. Chapter 120, Where are the zombies in Pan City? During his time in Annan Base City, Yili had only encountered one member of the dark race, Shi Yuan. He knew that he would encounter more members of the dark race in the future. Lu Qian and Su Suner were once again stunned like statues. The scene of Yili walking out of the sea of fire just now was too terrifying. It was as if a supreme demon king had walked out from the gate of hell. Qian, that humanoid mantis monster said Senior is not from the dark race. Could it be true? Su Suner whispered to Lu Qian. One don't think so. Lu Qian's voice was trembling. After thinking for a moment, she felt that Yili couldn't possibly be from the dark race. How could someone from the dark race treat her grandfather's injuries and save her and Xiao Chao? All of this was just too incredible. Yili looked at their shocked faces and naturally knew what they were thinking. You two can go back now. The reason Yili had Su Suner and Lu Qian accompany him was merely to guide him through Pan City. But now having them with him would only be a burden since there were so many members of the dark race in Pan City. Hearing Yi Li's words, Lu Qian and Su Suner felt as if they had received a pardon. The pressure of being with Yi Li was too intense for them. After they left, Yi Li asked Alda and the others to continue attracting more zombies. To Yi Li's surprise, this time Alda and the others only attracted a few dozen zombies. He couldn't understand why there were only so few zombies. Weren't most of the zombies supposed to have retreated to Pan City after the attack on Huangjiang Base City by the Dark Race and the zombies? After synthesizing these few dozen zombies, Yi Li decided to go and see for himself. As he walked on the streets of Pan City, he was surprised to find that there wasn't a single zombie in sight. Fortunately, I've come across a human. As Yi Li was walking, another voice rang in his ears. He noticed that the speaker was another humanoid mantis monster. The dark forces had many races. This humanoid mantis monster must be one of those races. Yi Li stopped in his tracks and looked calmly at the humanoid mantis monster, also a third-tier evolved being. Human, why aren't you afraid? The humanoid mantis monster stood about 10 steps away from Yi Li, looking puzzled. Why should one be afraid? Yi Li couldn't help but laugh. This humanoid mantis monster was just a mere third-tier evolved being. How could it expect to scare him? Kiki. The humanoid mantis monster giggled and stared at Yi Li. Human, you are the bravest human one have ever seen. But you'll soon become my lunch. Yi Li really didn't understand. Besides seeking death, what else could this humanoid mantis monster be doing? He held the dragon-slaying blade in hand and activated the swift steps in the blink of an eye. The humanoid mantis monster was lying lifeless on the ground. Yi Li wanted to find out where all the zombies had gone. After searching for a while, he still hadn't found a single zombie. Helpless, he stopped in his tracks. Zombies, where are all of you? There's a human here. Yi Li shouted loudly, although he didn't know if it would be effective. A few minutes later, to Yi Li's surprise, the zombies didn't come, but a group of dark race members did. There were dozens of them, including the soul race like Shi Yuan, humanoid mantis monsters, minotaurs, and heavy sword-wielding undead. They surrounded Yi Li tightly. Human, get ready to face your fate. A heavy sword-wielding undead coldly shouted at Yi Li. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.